see, does that mean? Sorry, bear with me real quick. Make sure that I am live. You have to bear with me. This is my first time doing this on this new platform. I just want to make sure that I am doing this correctly. So give me 1 second and we'll get started. How's everyone doing? Hope you are doing well. If you are seeing this, let me know in the comments where you are watching this from. I definitely want to know. There we go. That's not. Let's see if I can. Okay. I definitely want to know where you are from. This is today's live Q&A, and I'm just going to share this. Let's see if I can share this. Today's Q&A. Solar. Okay, awesome. So hope everyone is having a great Tuesday so far. Like I said, I wanted to jump on here and give you an opportunity to ask questions, to, really kind of hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. I don't want this to be stuffy or, formal by any means. So, feel free to ask as many questions as you like. And yeah, so what I'd like to do, just to kind of kick it off, I have started kind of compiling some, if you want to call them myths, or just, beliefs about solar, residential solar, if you will. And let me just preface this by saying I'm not, I don't know everything about it, but I'm nearing in on a year in the industry now. June will be 1 year since I have started my business, and let me just tell you, I've learned so much from from the CEO of the company, of the partner of the company that I've partnered with, to others who have been in the industry, a decade, 2 decades, sometimes some even longer than that. And, I've learned so much from a lifestyle belief about, what it's like to go solar, to the technical side of things, how to calculate how much kilowatt hours a homeowner uses versus how much they actually need. And then how to save money through all of this, because, the biggest one I think that really comes up first and foremost is that solar is expensive. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying that it's not as expensive as it used to be. And so, what I like to equate it to is kind of like your television set. I remember one of the first modern ones that, my parents ever brought home was that huge flat screen. Technically it was a flat screen, but if you looked behind the glass, it went back about 2.5, 3 feet, and it weighed about 300 pounds, but technically it was a flat screen. And so, no one today would buy one of those, but they were still being purchased. And so that's kind of the same way as it is today. Today, you have them and they're literally less than a half an inch thick, some of them, and you just hang them up on the wall like you do a picture frame. And there's even a version out there that looks like a picture frame. So, it just, comes around full circle. But the point that I'm making is that, as technology progresses and has progressed, these essentially power plants on our roofs are powering our lives, and they're setting families free from the dirty rented energy that most of us out there currently are shackled to whenever we purchase a new home. And sometimes even when we just move into a new home, if we're renting, or if we're renting a home or a room from someone, and we have to have that expense if we want to keep the lights on. So what I wanted to do today, what I wanted to accomplish today was really to have this forum where, you can ask questions, where we can really, lay it out on the table. The good, the bad, the ugly. It's not perfect by any means. I'll be the first to admit that, but this solar opportunity, if you will, is absolutely a game changer. And for anyone who wants to take a solid, open-minded, serious look at it, it can be a life changer for the good. But there's a lot that goes into it, and if done correctly, can, like I said, can absolutely change your life. So, like I said, if you're jumping on here, or if you're seeing the recording of this, definitely put where you're visiting from, where you're jumping in from. And if also, even after this, if you have questions, jump on, put them in the comments, or send them to me as a direct message, or as a comment, and I'll be happy to answer them. If I don't know the answer right off the bat, I will definitely get you an answer and get back to you with that. But like I said, I would like, not just to, kind of put this out there and just, kind of force it upon you, but really have a dialogue, really have a conversation about, what it means to go solar, what's involved, and what that could look like for you. So let me see if there's anybody on so far. Let me see. I'm also, let's see, critical error. Let's see. Just make sure that I'm also streaming on Twitter at dreamlife_INN, as well as on LinkedIn. And it looks like LinkedIn is having some technical difficulties. So let me just see what's going on here. It says destination is live. Hope that's good. No viewers yet. All right. No viewers yet on Facebook either. See if I can watch the current live. And again, this is the first one. So, if you like this, if you gain value from it ultimately, let me know, because I definitely would like to do more of these in the future. But if this is something that you don't get value out of, or if you have other comments, other feedback, definitely let me know, because my goal is to be able to educate those that want to be educated, right? So let me start off first, just to kind of get the ball rolling. So let me see one of the ones that has come up lately. Yeah, this is a good one. It's kind of not really cloudy out today, but it was yesterday, so this is an applicable one. Cloudy weather, or just weather otherwise, other than solar, sunny, and blue skies. So do solar panels work in cloudy weather? It's a good one to start off with. The short answer is yes. The longer answer is they still generate electricity. They just generate less of it, or at a reduced output. Okay, so you can still take advantage of the sun rays. And the reason I say that is because the sun or the energy that's being produced from the panels are not being, the energy is not being produced by the heat or by, the direct rays. It's being produced by the UV rays that are transmitting or that are flowing through the through the sun's rays. So those UV rays are going to penetrate clouds. It's going to even penetrate snow. It'll even penetrate rain to a certain extent. The diminishing capacity, though, the diminishing factor that comes in, though, is how much of that UV ray actually reaches the solar panels. So it's going to be a less quantity, a less capacity, but it's ultimately, think about it this way. If you look at the overall average, so let's say, if you were let's say down in the Gulf, where you may have 3 weeks of rain, yeah, that could probably alter the amount of sun that you ultimately generate electricity from, but you're still going to generate some electricity. Here where I am in North Georgia, you may have, 1, maybe 2 days where you have a number of hours over those 2 days, but you're still going to have a decent amount of sun that's going to generate UV rays, and you're still going to create electricity. But then even after that, when you go back to 100%, where you're generating electricity for 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours a day, these days when the days are starting to get longer, it's going to make up for that, and then even much more after that. So, cloudy weather, it's just a myth. It's something that is there to conjure up questions and concerns, obviously, and rightfully so. But it's just that it's not going to ultimately, if the system is built correctly and to the capacity at which the homeowner needs it, it's not going to diminish the output by enough to offset the benefits that you're ultimately going to see. So, what's another one? Unsightly. Okay, this is a good one. Aesthetics. I don't like the look of solar panels. I'll be honest, right off the bat, my first reaction is I don't like a $300 a month light bill, or a $500 a month light bill, or a $1,500 a month light bill. Trust me, I've seen one. But in all seriousness, to each their own. If you have a darker roof, they do make solar panels that what we call black on black. So, you'll see some panels where they have the white lines and the white grid, or maybe even a white border around the edges. They also make other panels that are solid black, so they don't have that white grid. So literally, it just looks like, kind of like a new television. Going back to that analogy, a black television that has a small bezel around the sides, you don't hear too many people complaining that it still has that bezel. And that bezel, it doesn't, not too many people are going to complain about it whenever they start getting the benefit of seeing what's on the television. And it's the same way. Once you get them up there and it's all seamless across your roof, you're not going to be complaining too much whenever you get that next light bill that says do not pay down at the bottom, because it's either at 0 or it's even in the negatives, which means then the utility company is paying you. So, obviously to each their own. And, let me see what else. Um, they've definitely come a long way from being the big bulky boxes that, are essentially bolted onto the roof. Solar panels these days are sleek. They're a lot more stylish. And like I said, they blend, pretty seamlessly. Um, and, these days, they're becoming more and more of a status symbol. So, it's not like back in the day where you needed to hide them because they were so unsightly. These days, people don't mind putting them on the front of their roofs because it's a statement, it's a status piece. So yeah, hope this is helping. Let's see what else there is. Don't work in cold climates. Again, going back to that weather issue, they'll work in snow. In fact, this is kind of a twofer, if you will, going between cold climates and how much maintenance you need. Basically saying, well, solar panels don't work if there's snow covered on top of them, or solar panels don't work, if there's gunk that's accumulated on top of them. So starting with snow first, solar panels, going back to those UV rays, UV's rays are actually the cause for sunburns. And think about that. If it's burning your skin, think about what it's doing to that snow that's accumulated on the panels. It's actually going to burn through that snow, and it's going to melt it, to where you don't have to get up on the roof and, brush it off, or you don't have to get up on there with a snow blower and blow it off. It's actually going to melt it on its own just by doing its job, which is generating electricity. So it's going to heat up, it's going to generate heat it's going to melt the snow. And on the other side with maintenance, literally all you need is, if you do notice that there has been some accumulation, some gunk, or some stuff that's accumulated on the panels, either, if you feel confident doing it, you can either get up on there on the roof yourself with, a light, just literally some soap and warm water, and clean it off. Don't use a hard wire brush or a hard, brush like that. Maybe like a microfilm cloth, like you would use, if you were cleaning your television set or your computer screen, something like that. And yeah, that's literally pretty much the extent at which you need to maintain these panels these days. There are companies out there, if you don't feel comfortable, that will actually, you may have seen the ads where they have the little drone that'll fly up, and then it's connected to the hose, and it'll spray them off and whatnot, and clean them, whatnot. Sometimes that's necessary. Honestly, most of the time it's really not. Again, unless you have a lot of stuff that's overhanging, or if you have, a bad storm that's brushed a whole bunch of stuff up there and maybe covered up the panels, that might be calls for it. But for the most part, it's not going to call for something that extensive. So what else? Let's see. Do we have any questions so far? Again, I hope that y'all are getting value, because this is the kind of stuff that I really like doing. I love educating. I love, sharing this value that, that I've learned, and that ultimately I want to pass to y'all, to others that I've learned from others in the industry, and just from, helping homeowners. So again, if you're watching this on the replay, definitely let me know where you're watching it from, and let me know what questions you have. Let's see. What's another one? This is probably a topic for a live all on its own, but I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and dive into it anyway. So solar panels make it difficult to sell your home. How many have actually heard that, been told that, maybe even seen that? So the short answer is that they can. The better answer is that homeowners or homes with solar panels actually often sell faster and for higher prices, because solar is a desirable factor that homeowners have looked into and are looking into more and in more detail. And what's going to happen is that not only, so you're going to have the market, and then you're going to have a subset of the market where you have solar homes. But then what's going to happen is, as more and more solar homes are on the market from people reselling them, you're going to have even that much more where they're looking at the materials that the systems are made up of. You know, are they tier 1 panels? Are they tier 1 inverters? Do they have a battery? Do they have multiple batteries? And all of that is going to be considered by the buyers or potential buyers when they're looking at your home. So it's going to become not just enough to have a solar panel, but it's going to become a question of what kind of solar panel and at what capacity. Does the solar panel cover, or the solar system cover, 100% of the capacity at which the homeowner needs? Do they have enough batteries and enough storage to be able to power the home, either in a section of the home or the home's entirety during a blackout? And all of this is taken into consideration, but all of this needs to be evaluated in the correct manner, because when the seller can get into trouble when it's not evaluated correctly. And that's where it leads into bad experiences. That's when it leads into leaving money on the table, whether they do it or not. And I'll just put a disclaimer out there. I'm not a realtor by any means. I'm not an appraiser. I'm not a lender. But I've worked with a number of them. I've heard the stories. I've done the research, and I've been taught by realtors who have been in the industry for a very, very long time. And I've come to find out what to look for and what questions to ask. And the biggest question that I've been taught to ask, or to tell others to ask, is what kind of appraiser is being used. Because as a seller, you have that power. You can make sure that the realtor is using an appraiser who is solar or energy certified, and that is using the energy efficient addendum that comes with that certification. And when they're using that addendum, they're going to know to look for things like what size solar system do you have? What type of solar system do you have? Do they have batteries? Is there a big enough breaker to handle the solar system? What kind of windows do they have? Not just solar systems, but other energy efficient improvements. So looking at the doors and windows, looking at the HVAC system, looking at the insulation in the attic, all of these different factors, and even so many more. A solar or a energy efficient certified appraiser is going to know how to use that addendum, is going to know what to look for, and also is going to know what to ask, what to advise to the seller, or to the realtor rather, to have and to help their home sellers get the most out of the asking price for whenever they market the home. So again, I could go into that a lot more in detail, but I hope that kind of gives you some food for thought. Maybe not the end all be all question answer to the question, but maybe that gives some food for thought. And like I said, I'm happy to put you in touch with someone who can help you get more information around those questions. Because again, I'm not the ultimate expert on that area of solar, but I do know who is, and I'll be happy to put you in touch with them. So let me see what else. Who else? What questions you have? Surely there's somebody that has some questions. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. Looks like LinkedIn is not working. So yeah, I'll do a few more and then probably wrap it up for today. But definitely, please, again, if you're watching this on replay, let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if if you're gaining value from this, or hopefully I'm not just wasting my time. But definitely let me know, what else you would like to hear about. Maybe it's not a Q&A, maybe it's just an educational live. But I definitely want this to be as interactive as possible. And I would like, if lunchtime, I try to do this around lunchtime Eastern Standard Time. If lunchtime is a good time, definitely let me know that in the comments as well. Or if it's not, if you want me to do something in the evening, do something early morning while you're driving to work, dropping the kids off, something that you can listen to in the car, let me know. I would love to get that feedback, because I want to meet you where you are. I want to provide this value in the most convenient channel and in the most convenient time, at which is most convenient for you. So let me see what else. What's another good one? Yeah. Oh, here we go. I think this is probably the cherry on top. Solar panels are only for new construction. And I'll actually add a challenge on this one, in which I've heard that solar panels are only for existing homes. So you've got two sides of the coin there. Only for existing homes, you have to be in the home for so many days, so many months before you can even consider adding solar. Or on the flip side, you may have heard or may have been told, no, solar panels are only for new construction. So I'll start with the new construction first. And that is, solar panels can easily be retrofitted onto existing homes. This makes it easily accessible for literally anyone. And in fact, if you buy a home, I'll put this out there as, if you won't put an asterisk next to this at this time marker, if you purchase a home that comes with solar and you find out, well, we added a hot tub and now we're having a little bit of an electric bill because the solar panels are not up to snuff with how much energy we need to produce, you can actually expand that solar system, and I can actually help you out with that. It's called a solar expansion, and they're very common. They're literally done every single day, and they're not that difficult to do. So I can definitely help you out with that. But on the flip side, solar panels are only for existing homes. No, they can actually be added to new construction. You don't have to wait until, 6, 8 months, a year after you move in to quote unquote find out what that electric bill looks like. We can actually work with the utility company in that area, whoever you decide to go with, or whoever is in that market, and we can actually work with them to design and build a solar system specifically for the size of your home, the needs that you have. If you have an electric vehicle, if you're installing a pool, if you're installing a hot tub, if you have 2 AC units, all of those considerations taken into mind, and building a system specifically for your brand new home, so that when you move in, you don't have to worry about utility bill. If you do, or one that you may be expecting, I'll put it that way. Sometimes, you do have a small one, maybe to cover an interconnection fee, but having the benefits of solar right when you move in is a very realistic possibility. People do that all the time. In fact, new construction in more and more cities are requiring it. Now, like I said, going back to the retrofits, back to the expansions, a lot of them are just putting on the minimum amount to be compliant by local regulations, but they are being installed at the time of the construction, or once the house is built. So I will leave it at that for today. I certainly hope that you've gained value from this. And, like I said, if there's more myths, if there's more concerns that you have, if there's more things that, your Uncle Bob or your Aunt Sally Mae, or whomever, told you about, why not to go with solar energy, let me know. Tell them to me. I want to find out. Because if there's something I don't know about, then most likely there's something that someone else has considered or hasn't thought about, and I want to be that subject matter expert just as quickly as possible. So this is Jordan Bloomingdale. I am signing off for now. Again, I hope that this has been of value. I hope that you have taken away, you're walking away with something that you can consider. And like I said, it's not for everyone, or it can be for everyone, but it's not for everyone. Not every home qualifies, but you never know if yours does. And if you don't, at least look into it. The answer is always going to be no. So I hope y'all are having a great day. Hope y'all have a great week, and look forward to doing the next one here shortly. Thank you.